Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for gathering here at KIPP Promise Academy. We are delighted to be here this morning with Mayor Muriel Bowser and our team to celebrate and welcome all the students and families back for the beginning of what we know will be another wonderful school year. In particular, we want to thank Principal Hardin Simmons for welcoming us into her school. And I also wanted to acknowledge Executive Director Michelle Walker-Davis from the Charter School Board, who is here, close colleague in our work. We've just had the opportunity to walk through 3 classrooms at Promise and Key academies here at KIPP, and we saw the extraordinary work that's going on and what seemed to be, I think, a flawless introduction to the school year. Quiet halls, incredible instruction, and very, very importantly, wonderful teachers demonstrating truly magnificent instruction in every room that we visited. A dance classroom, a science classroom, and a wonderful math lesson. And it is really the teachers who we want to applaud and thank this morning. We know this is back to school today for students and their families, but we know it's not back to school for teachers. They've been here for weeks and months preparing for this school year. So we want to thank our educators for their extraordinary work. It's why the mayor and her whole team worked so hard to ensure that we pay our teachers appropriately for the work and the value that they bring to the schools. So we celebrate at the beginning of this school year the increase in both back pay and raises for all teachers across our system, including at DCPS and in the charter sector. We've done a lot as a team to get ready for this upcoming school year. We've done a lot to ensure that we continue to accelerate instruction coming out of the pandemic. We've done a lot to ensure that our kids will be safe traveling to and from school and remaining in school. And we've done a lot to ensure that their social and emotional well-being will be cared for in the buildings as well. So with that, Mayor, I'll hand it to you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Kine. Thank you to the City Administrator and the whole team here at KIPP. And this is the first day of school for KIPP. And many, someone will remind me how many thousands of their students are returning, or hundreds of their students are returning today. And we want to remind everybody to look out for our little ones who are walking and riding and on the metro as they come to school. We also want to thank our teachers for their commitment in returning to the classroom this year. I understand from KIPP that they've had a very successful recruiting time at hiring teachers, which is also true at DC Public Schools. So we make it our business in Washington to be a great place for teachers. We want them to start their careers here, grow their careers here, and be rewarded for excellence in teaching. And we work very hard each and every day to make sure that happens. So congratulations to KIPP. To parents of all students, I want you to be communicating with your schools, making sure that you're registered, making sure that you have all the information you need from your school community to also have a smooth first day of school. So with that, we'll take some questions, any questions especially about school or others, and we'll get started here. Yes.
Peace and blessings, Mayor Bowser.
Thank you.
I have 2 questions. The first on-topic question. In regards to teacher pay, it's my understanding that negotiations with the WTU are up again or are scheduled to be up at some time. What moves are you making as far as just making sure that negotiations are prolonged over a certain amount of years for this round?
Well, as you know, I've had the opportunity in my tenure as mayor to negotiate 2 both historic contracts with the Washington Teachers Union, the most recent one really being a contract that we're proud of, that will make us more than competitive with the region and really pretty competitive with the entire nation when it comes to teacher pay. And we're proud of that. We'll have a process where my administration, the city administrator, and his team will lead negotiations with labor. And we hope that we will stay on track. Yep.
What consideration have you given to Councilmember Trayon White's mulling about the National Guard?
I'm happy to have a conversation with Councilmember White. I, of course, share his concern about safety in neighborhoods in Ward 8 and throughout the district, and how we best deploy our resources to keep communities safe. Any other questions? Yes.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead, John.
I was just going to ask, so obviously last school year there was a lot of incidents in schools, sort of violent incidents outside of schools. Is the city taking anything different or adding anything to just kind of increase safety outside of schools this coming year?
Certainly. So let me ask either the deputy mayor to talk about, actually I'm going to ask the deputy mayor to talk about our commitment to safe passage, the work that we've done with school communities, especially leaders. We also think it's very important that the council reverse this decision around school resource officials in schools. And so we're going to continue with that work. Let's start talking about safe passage.
Thank you, Mayor. So yes, we're extremely pleased that this year we've continued our commitment to safe passage, safe blocks. This is a program now run by Public Safety and Justice, which is putting 180 trusted community adults on the streets around school buildings at 52 of our schools. So we work in 8 of our most, we think, dangerous areas in the city. And we are continuing to push that work this year. Importantly, we're also continuing our DC School Connect program. So this is a program that actually provides busing at a number of schools in Wards 7 and 8 where the students feel unsafe traveling to and from school. So we've got that going on. In addition to that, we're also focused on safety inside the school buildings. So 2 weeks ago, we convened hundreds of operation leaders from DC public schools and private schools to train them on safety protocols for within their buildings. And lastly, we've done a lot of work to promote what we'll call conflict resolution skills in schools. We've got our ONES Office of Leadership in 6 of our public schools. And in addition to that, we're doing lots of additional training on conflict resolution skill building across the entire system.
And I guess just as a follow-up, I guess there's, in other jurisdictions, it's kind of believed that there's a truancy is sort of a factor in youth crime outside of the schools as well. The kids are not in school, they're doing other stuff that they should. Is there any efforts being put into sort of getting kids back into the classroom again that might have just sort of slipped out and not really caught on during the pandemic? I know that's a few years ago, but it still seems to be an issue in some school districts around this region here.
Yes, I would say we spend a lot of time working with our families on student attendance. Chronic absenteeism has also gone up in Washington, D.C., as it has done in other jurisdictions. We are now seeing improvements in that. But we do think that the pandemic actually did change for some families their relationship with school, and we've worked hard and successfully to mitigate that. So we continue to do a lot of work communicating with families on their children's attendance and the importance of attendance. You heard the mayor talk about it earlier. There are signs at this school as you come in. So we continue to do that. We've introduced special communications. We call them nudge communications that go out to families on a regular basis. We are streamlining our attendance work at schools because some of the attendance teams, frankly, were a little overwhelmed. So we have pushed that out this year as well. And most importantly, and what we observed in this school, in the 3 classrooms we saw, is you've got to make sure schools are wonderful and engaging places, places that children want to be. And we've done lots of work on our programming, and school people do this work every single day.
Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Following up to the National Guard question in the conversation with Councilmember White, back in 1993, the former mayor also made a request for the National Guard. And her interview at the time was saying that as the executive for D.C., that public safety is her primary responsibility and she's going to use whatever tools or means are at her disposal. Why or how has that changed now when it comes to calling the National Guard to help supplement D.C. police and staffing issues with the crime that the city is facing?
I'm not prepared to talk about 1993. I can tell you that we're very focused on how we deploy the resources that we control, and we will continue to do that.
Can I also ask a response to recent Washington Post articles speaking of the current acting police chief? There was criticism that she met and called on her commanders to come up with a plan to address crime in the district, and criticism that she's frustrated and taking it out on MPD leadership.
I don't have any comment on that.
Yep. Mayor, the head of the Washington Teachers Union, Ms. Pogue Lyons, issued a statement today basically saying that they have been surveying teachers concerned about safety in the school year, And their essential complaint is that they're not getting any attention, that they've been trying to talk to, just here, WTU is trying to solve the dire problem that puts kids and teachers at risk. We need DCPS to be our partner. DCPS should be moving with a sense of urgency, but shockingly, they have no inclination to address our basic safety recommendations. It seems like she's pretty concerned. They've surveyed teachers, and there doesn't seem to be a sense of urgency.
That would literally be the first time I heard that from her. So I'm very interested to hear what she's asking for, and I'll have that conversation with her. Yep. What's your question?
The moves that have been done to recruit more police officers. The data coming out of MPD is showing that the recruits are not there, despite the 20 grand bonuses being offered. What other actions is the city looking at in attaining, or not attaining, but attracting new and more police officers to the city?
You said the data was what?
The data is showing that the recruits are, it's not there.
Oh, well,
They're
we're
not
starting
recruiting.
recruit classes every month.
But there haven't been more. It's not showing that it's been better than before.
Well, we work very hard. I don't know what data you're referring to, so I would be happy to look at it. But we're starting recruit classes every month, and in fact, I think my recent report showed that the interest was up from even last year this time in the number of applicants.
And Mayor, just your message to the kids. Unfortunately, we've covered sad stories around KIPP, especially KIPP students facing tragedy. What is your message to these kids the first day of school, especially the violence that the weekends we've been coming off of?
I think what my message is like just what in these children that I've seen who've shown up, who are eager, who are bright-eyed, who are listening to their teachers, who are following instructions, is to continue showing up at school, following positive adults, and learning as much as they can every single day. Just like I tell my daughter, that's your job. And we need to, all the adults need to make sure that the kids can focus on their job. And their job is to learn and to show up ready to learn and to go home and do all the things that their teachers told them to do during the day. And the rest of the government has to make sure that things work. Their families have to make sure that things work, and the community has to make sure things that work. So my message, not just to them, but to us as a community, is let's let these kids be kids. Their potential is just, it's just expansive. And we owe it to them as adults to make sure that all the systems that support them work, that the families that they're a part of work, and that our communities work. So I want the kids to be kids, listen to the adults, and learn as much as they can, and to be excited as I am about the first day of school. Thank you, everybody. One last question?
Yes. What's been your conversation with DGS as far as the school repairs? What progress have you seen them make in terms of preparing DC public school buildings for the first day?
Sure. Perhaps Kevin will talk a little bit more about that.
DGS has done more this summer than I ever remember. Each spring they work with DCPS and principals to come up with a high priority checklist. That included about 3,500 work orders. They've gone through 3,000 of them since May 1st. As of the beginning of August, they are 80% of their way through what they identified, and that was still with about 3 weeks left, and they were pretty confident they were going to get through the rest of them. I personally tour schools. I look at the data as I have for many years. I don't recall schools being this far along at this point in the summer, heading into the new year. There will still be work being done on the first day of school, but the vast majority of those priorities will have been completed, and I'm really proud of the hard work that DGS and DCPS have put into that.
Okay. Last question for you, and then Sam, you'll have the last one.
All right. So, what progress has been made in terms of the report system for the repairs? My understanding is that the contractor or the system that was being used, often there was a lapse in communication between getting the job done and when they could check off the job being done. But then when you would look back, the job was not done. So to make my question a bit clearer, what things have been put in place to make that line of communication much smoother, so that when people when jobs are completed or they're not completed, they're expedited?
No, that's a good question. The DGS has its own quality control follow-up, and they also have direct communication with the principal and DCPS. So when they close out a work order, it's because the work was done. Sometimes a work order has to get changed to a different type of job if they've done part of it, but they really want to make sure that they have the feedback loop to the principal so the building manager and operations staff of the school can see it. But they, as I said, have got through about 80% of their identified work from May 1st to the beginning of August, which is typically ahead of where they've been in the past, and I'm really proud of that work they've done.
And Mayor, again, I just want to, it's kind of repetitious, but so you're saying basically that you have not heard any of this concern from the Washington Teachers Union?
I'll ask Kevin now. If he's correct.
President Pogue Lyons called me early in the summer about a survey that she was doing. She did commit in that conversation to talk with me about the results. This is the first time I've heard that she has results, is through a question from you in the press. What I do know is that DCPS, the school leaders, work daily with their teachers to be able to help address some of the challenges they've had. And I do think some of the changes in allowing for more SROs to come back in schools will be helpful. And really looking at how we handle in schools some of the discipline challenges that recent laws have put into place that have tied the hands of what school leaders have options to do with regards to challenges within schools. So your question was the first time I've heard that she's gotten the results back, and I'll look forward to talking with her later today about what those results were.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thanks to the press for coming out today.